Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Dana here. Today I thought I would just kind of play around with y'all and make some grungy, rusty frames that I'm thinking will probably go good on some Halloween projects. If I have some left over, then they'll go good on any kind of grungy project that I want to do in the future. But the frames that I used are from this die set. This is from Whimsy Stamps. This is the Forever Cameo Frames die set. And I just cut them out of some watercolor paper, and then I just painted them with silver craft acrylic paint. I happened to use this one from Deco Art, but you could use any. You could always just skip that step entirely and cut them out of silver paper. I didn't have that much silver paper, so I figured I'd just paint them. But the first step that I'm going to do to kind of grunge them up a bit is add some texture with some grit paste Crypt. And then typically for rust, I generally do a mix of Rusty Hinge, Crackling Campfire, and Vintage Photo. Just kind of depends on my mood, how orange I want versus, how dark I want. We'll see. I'll mix up some of all three. So I'm just going to start with a bit of wax paper as a palette. And then I'm going to put some of the grit paste down. I don't think I'm going to be using very much. So I'll just start out with a little bit. There we go. Those dollops look pretty good. And then since I'm just using a little bit, I'm not going to actually... There we go. I'm not going to actually use the dropper top for my reinker. I'm just going to stick a toothpick in it. That'll probably be enough. So this is the Crackling Campfire. And you can see a little bit goes a long ways. I literally just dipped the tip of that toothpick in there, and it's colored that full dollop of the grit paste Crypt. You can always make it darker if you want. I think that looks good for what I'm doing here, because I'll end up adding some more paint and stuff to that. And then the next one, I'm going to do Rusty Hinge. There we go. So you can see there's not a lot of ink on there. You just give that a good mix. You could always go in and mix it with your palette knife if you want to. I think I am going to add a little bit more to this one. Just so there's a bigger difference between that and the Crackling Campfire. There we go. Close the lid, and then last but not least, we will do... Oh, good grief. I am clumsy today. I'm dropping all my bottles over here. But now we'll do the Vintage Photo. And this one I do want pretty dark. There we go. I think that looks good. Like I said, I'm going to be painting over this probably in the end just to grunge everything up a bit more. So since I have it on here, I'm going to take what's on my palette knife and just use that real quick. And I'm just going to dab it on with my finger in random spots on the frames. This is kind of drying out a little bit. There we go. So then again, I'm just going to dab it with my finger and just randomly put it on the frame. There's no rhyme or reason to this. Mix the colors. Get kind of a little bit of everything on there. And it's probably going to look like kind of a hot mess when you first start, but that is okay. The joy with projects like this is you're adding layers. So the more layers you add, most of the time, the better it looks. And we want the grungy, rusty yumminess. There we go. So I'm just going to continue doing all of those, let them dry, and I'll be back for the next step. Okay, so now that these are dry, I'm going to grunge them up a little bit, and I'm just going to use some plain old black acrylic paint. Any that you have will work for this. I'm just going to put a dab on there and water it down quite a bit. And then with a damp sponge, I'm just going to pounce it on there. No rhyme or reason to this, just get the paint on. And then with a paper towel, I'm going to go in and just knock some of it back. How much is completely dependent on the end result that you're looking for. And then also personal preference. Okay, I think I like that. I'm gonna add a bit more back on this one, I think. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let those dry and then I'll be back. Okay, so everything is pretty much dry now. You could totally leave these as is if you wanted. You wouldn't have to. I'm still painty. Let me get that off because that's gonna bug me. Okay. There we go. Little things that drive you nuts. That was, yeah. Anywho, the next step I'm gonna add just a bit of distress crayon. I picked out Rusty Hinge, Walnut Stain, and some Crackling Campfire. Since those are similar to the colors that I've already used on here, and we'll see which ones I use on which. Again, you do not have to do this. You can just leave them as is if you want. All I'm gonna do is just kind of scribble it on in places that I think need just a bit more zhuzhin. And then I'm just gonna wet my finger on a baby wipe and just move it around. If you didn't want to use your finger for this, you could absolutely use a brush. Again, there's no rhyme or reason to this. Just get it on. There we go. That's about what most of them will look like. Very grungy, rusty frame. You could use these year round. These ones I had planned for Halloween, but I will still probably have some left over. So you'll probably see these again. But thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this little video. It's just kind of one of those make stuff ahead of time to make other stuff videos. But if you did enjoy this video, please do consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And I will see you in the next one.